A whole new world, a new fantastic point of view. Guys, a whole new world. It really is for Gypsy and Nick, and I am freaking out over this episode. Stay tuned. We'll talk all about it.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Guys, welcome back to the After Show. I'm one of your co-hosts, Lynn Antwi, and to my left, guess who's back from hiatus?
I'm glad to be back. I was going crazy last week when I wasn't here. So much to talk about.
And, of course, the beautiful Raven.
Hi.
And last but certainly not least, as always, Chef Beans, welcome back. We missed you last week as well.
Happy to be back.
Guys, this episode, first of all, the title, appropriate. Right?
For sure.
And Disney-based and Ariel-based, all of that stuff. Overall thoughts of this episode. Go.
I actually liked this episode. I feel like there was a lot of character development. Like, there was a lot of pieces that were being put together to kind of explain why each character is the way they were.
Yep.
And that was my favorite part.
I enjoyed this episode. It might come off as morbid, but I found this to be slightly funny because it's like the honeymoon is so over and just her expressions throughout the story. I literally was laughing because, she was done.
Yeah, already.
Yes.
Which is what I said last week.
You did. Predictions.
Right. I really enjoyed this episode, and I think the title of the episode is very fitting because it was a whole new world for everybody, even clearly Dee.
Yeah.
So I thought everything was right on point.
Yeah. Guys, this episode, you know what I love about the act? They just jump right in. And all these sounds from the beginning, I was like, wait, what am I watching? What am I listening to? And again, just like last week, I know my neighbors are thinking, this girl is a pervert. Because I don't know what the hell's going on over there, but she's always got the extra. Guys, we have a great show in store for you. We're going to do In Reality, our segment about everything that's in real life in this story. Who's your pen pal? That's a little hint of what's up next. And where is Joey right now? You know how, like, where's Waldo? Where's Joey? Because she's not here right now, but she's somewhere fun. Guys, let's jump into the flashback. So it opens up to who's there screaming. You hear the stabbing sounds, and then it flashes to 1991, and you hear more screaming in Louisiana, and it's Dee Dee in labor. What did you guys think of that?
The shot I thought was cool, kind of like last week where these strange, inappropriate things are happening, but she's in a Disney costume. Here we hear a murder happening, but the house looked like a pretty little dollhouse that they were zooming in on. I was like, I wanted to see what was happening though.
No, right. I really enjoyed the flashback, and like it all circles back to a whole new world. This is a whole new world for Gypsy, and you see Dee Dee, I guess, first laying eyes on her daughter, and even the scared aspect of it when they said she had something wrapped around her neck, the umbilical cord. I thought this was just, everything is just right on point from the beginning, 1991.
Well, the beginning, I knew obviously this scene was coming eventually. I don't like killing. I don't like slasher movies. So to be honest, I kind of closed my eyes for the beginning part. I was like, I'm not having this. But I actually do like that they are doing flashbacks again, because it kind of gives a backstory of why Dee Dee is the way she is. They introduce her mom, and I think that explains a lot. So I'm actually really happy that they decided to do the flashbacks and give that whole backstory.
I think this episode definitely laid out the foundation of how we got here. How did we get here? And I thought the opening scene was brilliant because what you saw was the taking of a life and the beginning of a life.
That's very true.
At the very same time, and to be able to discern between the screams, you really couldn't.
Right.
Because the pain was the pain, but someone's coming and someone was going. And I thought, wow, that's pretty genius. So we also meet Dee Dee's mom in this flashback. She's in labor. We find out that it's a little girl, and we kind of see that Dee Dee doesn't really know what she's talking about, or first-time mom syndrome, that whole thing. And then this big presence comes in the room, and she just takes over. And what did you think of that, and what were your first impressions of Dee Dee's mom?
Overbearing.
Yeah.
Fully. Like, it really showed me why Dee Dee is the way she is. I'm not excusing anything she's ever done, because she has, she had problems. But I can see why. I mean, her mom treats her like a child. I'm like, okay, it's the cycle from the top to the middle to the end. Yeah, she just, like, it's mind-blowing to see how that just cycles down for them in that family.
Would you think?
I thought mommy dearest.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if there was a mommy dearest, it is her. And if I never watched any episode and I just happened to turn it on today, I would, even then, Dee Dee either seemed very abused or that there was something developmental. Like I wouldn't have known yet. I would have thought there was something developmental, or I'm looking at an abused woman right now. So even that, as far as her mental illness, kind of, you can see how it can go there.
What do you think?
No, they basically took the words out of my mouth. Like, we basically see how Dee Dee got to the way she is. Of course, she was painted the antagonist this whole series, but we're kind of getting to the roots of why she is the way that she is. From the moment Gypsy was born, her mother was just kind of like, I'll take that from you. And you just kind of saw the disconnect between their mother-daughter relationship. So,
What I thought was interesting, too, is Dee Dee not answering when the nurse was like, who's the father? And any other questions relating to the baby, the mom was like, oh, no, I got this. You need to clean her, and you need to find out her length, and you need to do this, this, and this, and this, and this. And I, like you, thought, okay, there's something wrong with Dee Dee in this, because she almost does seem like she's developmentally challenged and not realizing, like, hey, you just had a baby. You need to step up. Like, I don't know where your mom game is, but your mom game is not strong in this moment.
Right.
You know? That's the vibe I got from her. And then at the same time we flip, and then we see Nick walking away from the house. And what I thought was so eerie about this was he was in no rush. He was just walking out, and I was like, where's the blood? You just brutally stabbed and killed someone, and you're chilling. And
With
you
brownies.
get into
With brownies.
I was like with a big pan of brownies. I was like, what is
and
this?
you had the presence of the mind, both of you, to call a taxi, and then you're telling the taxi just like chill and wait.
Yeah, even inside the taxi, I thought it was very weird. Like, his smirk. Like, you can tell he was just kind of at ease with whatever Victor just did. I don't know. It was definitely very creepy.
Yeah. What did you think?
What I find interesting about Nick, he's very, as the episode goes on, he's very in tune with his mental illness. He doesn't like to take medication, which I found interesting because I feel like people that have that type of mental disorder are on medication.
Right.
So to me, that shows me that he's tried it and it doesn't work for him. But he's very in tune with his mental illness. He's like, oh, I don't like the way it makes me feel when she tries to give him like Xanax or whatever it is. So I find that very interesting about him. I don't know why. I just, for someone who has something like that, I would assume that he doesn't realize it. Like, he knows he has it, but he doesn't realize what he's doing. But he's very in tune when he, like, about his mental illness and when he's in character and when he switches and what's not good for him. So I found that very interesting about him, actually.
Yeah, so in the show, he has multiple personalities, but we know in real life he was autistic.
Right.
And how true that is in real life, we don't know, but he's definitely killing it on this show.
For sure. I said that when I was watching it. Like, because I know that he came out and said in an interview that he spent time with people who are autistic to get into that role. And then another interview I saw about him, he talked about how he doesn't even want to watch the episodes because he got into a mind space for this character that scared him.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
talked about
and he
that.
didn't want to talk about it
Because
and
even
watch it.
his nonverbal, like even in the cab, there's minimal. If he says anything, I don't remember in the cab. Maybe a little something before Gypsy comes out, but just the intensity on his face and the emotions that he was feeling, he was there.
So we talked about that a few episodes ago. He definitely went method with his acting for this. He went all the way in and really absorbed Nick's character just so that he could really portray it authentically. So we see them both in the taxis, and so Gypsy as well comes out. And what I thought was interesting is that she gets into the taxi and she's like, okay, hurry up, we're kind of in a rush. But you chilled. You walked with your suitcases all chilled down the ramp.
Very queenly.
You open the trunk, you put your, like, really? Because I've been later to the airport. So you need to, like, settle all the way down. And I liked how the taxi driver was like, hurry up or slow down. I could do whatever you want.
Right.
So we see them in the taxi. They're hugging. They're happy. They're holding hands. And all the meanwhile, and I gotta tell you, the act, this was genius. You hear the French version of Bonnie and Clyde
Right,
play.
I noticed that,
The
yes.
only
Sure.
song, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in News and Gossip, but it just made that whole situation creepier than it already was. They get to the hotel or motel 6.
Best sleep in.
Yeah, the best sleep in. And, you know, right away you see Gypsy kind of princessy.
Yeah.
Like looking around, not impressed with the place, not impressed that it was a messy area. And he was
Right.
like, well, you know, I didn't have time to
said
clean
Victor.
up. Right.
Victor.
Oh, Victor didn't have time to clean up.
Good Lord.
Victor didn't have time to clean up because he was planning a murder, Gypsy. So calm all the way down.
Take several seats.
Several seats. So then we jump into them undressing and her changing wigs. And here's what I thought was interesting, because remember last week I was shocked about how advanced she seems sexually.
Right.
So this week she's got a video camera out. They got the food already mixed into this intimate time. And she says something about eating brownies and then refers to herself. And I
girl.
was like, who are you?
I know.
Where did you come from? And like, who are you?
So,
Yeah.
Similar thoughts?
Yeah, so I think from the documentary and everywhere else, of course they didn't put in everything because they literally couldn't. But she was definitely way more advanced because at this time she was like, what, 22? So besides what they showed on the act and everywhere else, I'm pretty sure she was doing a lot of research in the sexual world. So,
She had nothing but time.
right.
That and
fantasize about it.
and I think that her Victor, they had a lot of time online to explore that whole other world that they were living in. So
Yo,
the whole whips
the
and
girl
chains.
was matching. I was like, Gypsy, like her undergarments in
Oh,
every
she
scene
was
where she was
ready
she
for
was
this.
matching.
But when she put
Oh,
on
The candy wig.
the rainbow
Yep.
wig, I was like, oh, you're all in it with your pink bra. I got you. I got you. You made plans today.
Right. And Coach Nick, too. Like, hold up. Chill out. chill-
Yes.
I was like,
What you do it the regular way. Like,
That's
oh,
what I'm saying. I was like, who are you?
Right.
Who are? And then you threw the video camera in there. I was like, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. What am I watching?
didn't know how to
And why
feel
are you
about
videotaping this?
home video? I don't know.
So then they have their moment, and then she wants to chat, right? So she's asking, like, what is Wisconsin like, and how's your mom, and is she gonna like me, and what is she like? And Nick is basically like, she likes purple, and I don't know. And you could see
on her face. Oh, yeah.
her face, how livid she is. And I think, like you said, Chef, this was the beginning of her realizing, like, this dream that you had, reality is about to slap you in the face because it's not going to be exactly what you think.
Because they're playing on the, I don't know how much they went into it as far as his character development, but the autism part, he's not as.
Oh, yeah. And we see that play out throughout this episode where it's very, very simplistic and some of it gets them into trouble. So we flash back to 1991 again and Dee Dee and the baby. And here's where we start to see Dee Dee kind of being neurotic because she thinks that the baby's not eating, so there's something wrong with her. And the mom is like, no, you don't need anything. All this baby needs is me. And that's where I saw, oh, there's something going on between these two. They have a love-hate relationship.
Oh, yeah.
What do you guys think?
I feel like in that part, too, when she goes to the doctor and he gives it a name, I feel like that was the seed that was planted. Because right when I saw it, I'm like, oh, there it is. Because I feel like there's always one defining moment when it clicks for somebody and they switch. And I feel like in real life, that was it for her. Because it gave it a name. Like, if a doctor tells you, oh, you have this, it's real. So she's like, oh, my child is sick. Well, here's all the instructions. I need you to do this, this, and this, you know. And then that just started it for her. And after that, she was obsessed with taking care of her, making sure she was on schedule. She's sick. She's this. She's that. So I feel like that was a very defining moment for her illness when it comes to Gypsy.
Right.
What do you guys think?
I agree with that. I thought the same thing, and I thought the mom, because I think it was a moment where I think Dee Dee said something like, "We're gonna go alone."
Yeah, I wrote that down. We're gonna go to
Yes.
the doctor's by ourselves, and
Ourselves.
you see on screen, Mom's right there.
Yes.
Mom's saying, "Sit down because you're making me seasick."
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally overbearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mom was trying to steer that ship, and it's, like you said, as soon as the doctor said what failure to thrive, you just saw Dee Dee go into that mode of, okay, I have to do everything by the books, to where I'm pretty sure it was overwhelming at first, but her mother wasn't letting her be a mother, so I kind of...
Yeah, and I think that in that moment you saw that, you started to see that her mom didn't like her.
Right.
Yeah.
And whether it was because it was a reflection of herself, which we can get into later, or there was something more sinister there, her mom just really didn't like her and would have been fine, as we see and we move on, where she goes to jail. If it was just her and Gypsy, she would have been fine. Right? So speaking of fine, let's talk about our network and how great it is. Chef Beans, take it away.
Yeah, so we just want to say thank you for making us the ESPN of TV talk. But before we move on to the next topic, we just want to make sure that you do a few things for us. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're on iTunes, please leave us a 5-star rating. But no matter where you are, please leave us a nice, healthy comment. We're also on Spotify now as well. AfterBuzz TV has meant so much to all of us, so if you can please do those few things, we'd really appreciate it. So, thank you.
And guys, I want to shout out our live chat. It's kind of popping in there.
Hey.
First to Plasm B, yes, we are the after show. We watched it, and just for your knowledge moving forward, it drops here in the U.S. at midnight. So 12:01 on Wednesday, you can go to Hulu and you can watch the latest episodes. And then you can come here to AfterBuzz TV and watch the recap and how we break down the episodes. But shout out to Math Hannon.
Hannon? Yeah.
Yes, hi, Math. And Pajan and everyone else. Trish, what up in the live
Dang,
chat?
this thing is popping.
It is popping.
Hey.
So moving on. So from there, we jump to present day. So they've had their night of passion. And
Their only night of passion.
right. And they're ready to rock and roll. So they're checking out. And when they check out, they're both excited. And Nick, I thought, was a sweet moment when he was like, yeah, we are in a rush. We got to catch a bus. She's got to meet my mom because we have this wedding coming up. And it's like, you two are delusional.
Right.
The lady's face too.
Right.
She's like,
Even when
"Wait,
he
what?"
said the fancy restaurant, she's like, we got Continental. No, I want to take her to a nice fancy restaurant.
Yeah,
it
no
takes her to like a
offense.
diner, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah, Penny's Diner. Penny's Restaurant across the street. Y'all fancy for sure.
I mean, if that's all it takes, then shoot. I mean,
And then when they were talking about, oh, this is our first real date, and I thought it was interesting because so we get to see how this sugar thing and the soda was so important to Gypsy, but the waitress is too busy. She's like, I don't have time to break it down. Do you want a menu? And you could see again the disappointment because reality's setting in.
Oh, yeah.
All this stuff that you planned in your mind and that you thought was gonna happen is not happening.
Right.
Like people don't have time for your fantasy. So that was another shock in her face. And then we see her, and whether it's Xanax or whatever she's taking, she's having anxiety. And we saw it as soon as she got to the motel room, but we saw it again in this diner where she's just popping them like they're vitamins, right? And all of a sudden we look up and there's 2 police officers and she loses it. And in that moment, I wanted to slap her in her face.
she was giving me anxiety. I was like,
exactly. I was getting nervous. Like,
Yeah,
what the
I was like, you're on the run. You planned this whole thing in your mind, and you can't handle it for 5 seconds. You guys are getting caught, and I mean,
sure.
we know they get caught, but now I can see why. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought I was nervous for her. If we rewind a little bit, when she first put on the candy wig, I noticed the feeding tube. So that was my first moment of like, oh, she doesn't even eat solids or anything.
She does eat solids.
Does
though,
she?
By that time.
by the time.
Okay. Oh, that's right. That's right.
She was eating the
So-
solids away at night, late at night. The refrigerator
That's
raid.
right. She was.
She's
sneaking
all in.
Just not with her mom.
Right.
Okay, so she was hiding from her mom. I forgot about that. That's what I was thinking. But once I started seeing that nervousness from her. I knew it was going to be a breakdown, and I wondered if she was going to take other pills. Like, I wondered how she was going to separate herself from habits, because even in real life, that's hard to do. So I wonder how she was going to take care of herself, even though she came from a dysfunctional household. There's still kind of a routine, kind of a stability, kind of a. So I wonder what was going to be her level of
being able to break from that. What I found interesting about this scene, what I took from it when the waitress was rude to her, I thought she's so used to everyone being so kind to her because she's, you know, in a wheelchair. And everyone's so catering to her. And now that she's in real life and that's not a thing, she got a real hard taste of reality and being out in the real world where not everybody's nice to you.
Pedro made that comment in the live chat. She said, I also felt she realized not being in the chair, etc. She noticed people ignored her.
Her, rude.
No one's catering to you. This is fight or flight, and you are not doing well, my friend.
That's huge.
Right? It really was huge. So we go back to 1993, and Dee Dee's mom and her cousin and all the craziness of that household. And we see that Dee Dee's really obsessed with Gypsy, with the video camera. And people are talking, like her cousin is talking to her, and she's just focused on Dee Dee. And I think, like you said, we start to see, okay, this is where things have cracked. You can't see beyond yourself. You can only see your daughter, and your daughter is going to be the vein of your existence, and it's going to be unfortunate because, as we see, it backfires for her. So then we get a knock on the door, and it's the police. And the police are there to arrest her for felony check fraud. And she's like, oh, no, I just wrote a bad check. I'll be able... They're like, no, liar. Listen, chick.
Right.
But not those words. Listen, you know that you stole your grandpa's check and you wrote bad checks, and he's decided he's pressing charges. Now what? And then we see that she doesn't, so she's getting arrested. Mom's not doing anything about it. Mom's just
very unapologetic.
But not only not apologetic, brings the daughter and flaunts it in her face. You noticed that?
Yeah.
Raven, what did you think then?
Again, mommy dearest. They didn't give us enough to see where that would come from, because again, it didn't seem where Dee Dee, you see something's mentally, there's an issue. And for the mom, I agree with you that it just felt more sinister and evil. Like, this is not even your daughter. This is some child that someone dumped on you and you're mad about it. So you treat this one differently. Or like, you know, the Cinderella stepchild type of syndrome. But she didn't seem in any way like a mom toward Dee Dee.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Even when she was being taken away and she's like, take her away, I don't want her to see this. And what did she say? Well, you shouldn't have done it if you didn't want her to see it. I'm like, dang, okay.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
So then we flash forward. Dee Dee's in court. She has a previous criminal record, which we know in real life is true. This is not her first time to the rodeo. She gets 6 months in jail, and she has to pay full restitution to her grandfather. And we see the interaction with the mom, and the mom is like, your little plan didn't work. You thought you could bring your baby in, and the judge would have pity, but she saw right through you. And Dee Dee was like, you know, I know you had the money and you could pay for the bond, but you just didn't do it. And the mom's like, well, and this is where we found this phrase, because we know that Dee Dee has used this phrase on Gypsy. The only way is through. Right? So she's thinking that she's teaching her a lesson, but really it's a punishment.
Oh, yeah.
And she wants her to have that punishment, as did Dee Dee with Gypsy.
No, right. The producers were very methodical with that line because it brought everything full circle. You know what I mean?
Oh, this episode tied a lot of loose ends. It tied a lot of loose ends, and fantastic. The show is fantastic. I'm already all in. We go to present day, and we see Dee Dee and Nick, not Dee Dee. We see Gypsy and Nick at the bus station, and they're trying to get on their bus. And there's no reservation. And this is where we see the start of the breakdown between the two. So he thinks he made the reservation, there's no reservation, and he's just like a deer in headlights. He's just standing there. And that's where Gypsy has to figure it out. Like, how are we going to get to where we need to go? What do we need to do, and what does that look like? What did you guys think in that moment?
This is actually maybe the second time this episode where Gypsy gave me so much anxiety, because first it was at the diner, and then you just kind of see her freaking out at the bus terminal. But this is very reflective on how her fairy tale world isn't as butterflies and peas and mushrooms as she would think, because everything is like crashing down right in front of her face. Like, oh, I thought life and freedom would be a lot more easier than this, but she clearly is not prospering that much in this level of autonomy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and she also made Nick out to be this big thing in her mind that he's not, right? So he had a role to play in her mind, and he's not up to that task. And I think she's now just starting to realize that.
Yeah.
And Joey is the polarity of the two gypsies now. Phenomenal. Because at the counter, her all of this and just her frustration with these different moments is so palpable. The acting of it, and it seemed you know it's not Gypsy, but she's so all in. It is great. I actually feel bad for Nick in these moments.
I do too. I was gonna say I feel kind of bad for him
because it's not intent. He really just doesn't have the capacity.
He doesn't have the capacity, right?
And he doesn't know how to handle these moments. So I'm like, oh, he's gonna break.
Listen, he is about to break. You can see it all over his face. Flash to 1993, and Dee Dee's in prison, and she's writing letters to Gypsy. And you see that she's hoping there's going to be some type of correspondence, and there's not. And then they flash forward to 4 months later, and her mom doesn't come to pick her up. It's her cousin that comes to pick her up and brings her to the house. They get to the house, and all of a sudden, Gypsy starts crying, and the mom makes her feel it's because you're back.
Right.
And that's why we have our own routine. We do things differently now. I've been here for the last 6 months. You've been in jail. We've got this.
Right.
What did you guys think of that?
She's just so manipulative. Like, I can see where it comes from. Like, I've never felt bad for Dee Dee. I really haven't. But I hate to say in this episode I did a little bit, because I can see where the emotional abuse comes from. Like, you're not enough. You've never been enough. You just got out of jail. Your child doesn't need you. She needs me. And you can just go away. Like, I feel bad for her because I can see where, and it's the same with Gypsy. When you abuse somebody over and over and over and over, they're going to have a cracking point.
Right.
And some people can't handle that. And they lash out in a violent or bad way, as Gypsy did, as Dee Dee supposedly did with her mom. I just feel like I do feel bad for her because it's so much abuse. And it streams down to Gypsy after her mom, obviously.
Do you guys feel bad as well?
I feel a little bad. Yeah, like a little bit, not completely, but
it's slim for me. It's slim because
yeah,
she, is crazy. But.
Not completely, but you can see how, like you said, malicious the mother is. And even when Dee Dee came and the mother said, "Well, we do things different now, thief," and Dee Dee clever line was, "Well, I learned from the best." That tied a lot of loose ends as well. Like, okay, maybe the mother has a history with stealing things.
The mother does have a history of stealing.
It leaked down into Dee Dee's life. So I'm just kind of like...
And that's why I was saying that I think that part of the reason that it seems like the mom hates her so much is she sees so much of her in herself. Having a kid young, and it being a daughter, and the stealing and going to jail and all of those things. I think that she thought that she could do it better or have a second chance through Gypsy, and Dee Dee's standing in the way.
Right.
And Dee Dee's just a disappointment, and therefore she's a disappointment of herself. Yes.
Yeah, I never had a moment of empathy, but I think that's, if this were the Dee Dee story and we never saw
the correct.
And I just saw a story and saw this, I would feel empathetic towards her. But because I've seen so much of the other, it didn't do that for me.
I think I just know I'm in too deep, you guys, because I felt no sympathy for her. All I saw was, oh, you know what, Grandma? Be careful, because you got crazy eyes, and she's about to be all crazy on you. She's just waiting for her moment. That's how I felt. So we see that, again, Dee Dee's back. She thinks that there's something wrong with her daughter. She's giving her, like, over-the-counter cough medicine.
She gave her a lot of medication.
And then the mom says, she doesn't really need that. You just gave her. She's fine. Chill out. Mom leaves, and she gives her more. And that's the moment for me that I was like, oh, you're about to make this about you and not about your kid who is not sick, just sleeping. We go to present day, And we're back at the hotel, and they want the same room because obviously they couldn't get on the bus. The bus is not leaving for another 2 days. They had to pay like $100 extra, the whole 9 yards. And the same room, you guys, it's a motel. You're not getting the same room.
Right.
Duh. They have a smaller room, and it's only twin beds available. And I thought that was genius as well for the show because you're starting to see the cracks, right? And even the front desk lady, you could push the beds together. They never push the beds together.
She's like, okay, fine.
Yeah, but
Okay,
they're in
fine.
their separate beds still. So you can see, okay, you know what? Reality's setting in, and this is not a good sign for the two of them. And then we see them watching a horror show, and then meanwhile you hear like the neighbors doing their thing, and you see the look on her face like they should be doing that as if they were newlyweds. Did you guys feel the same way?
Yeah, I definitely did. And even to go back to the counter, it was another expression on Gypsy's face, like, why aren't things going my way? We just wanted our own room. But to transition into the room, you can just feel the separation, like that spark that once was there is dwindling away.
Yeah.
Yeah, even when they're like, doing it, she like they've been married for 10 years, just laying there like, I don't enjoy this. Like, I'm not into this. But then again, it's when you watch so much fairy tale and Disney and all of that stuff, it gives you an image in your mind when you're younger. And when it doesn't pan out to be that way, it's disappointing because love's not that way. Love isn't always daisies and roses and happy. There's frustrations and hard times, and they're going through that, and she can't handle it. She's like, nope, I'm over it. Nope.
Listen.
I think that's why I found it funny sometimes.
No, like, seriously.
This was just an extreme of a lot of love stories that I've heard. This was just a very, very extreme version of it, so I really was laughing.
Oh, Gypsy.
Honestly, the fairy tales don't tell
Flashback to
you all that.
1997. Gypsy's 6 years old. Playtime. We see that the mom, the grandma, has deteriorated in health, and she's calling for Dee Dee. And meanwhile, Dee Dee and Gypsy are kind of having mother-daughter time playing dolls, but there are kids in the backyard. And Gypsy wants to go to the backyard, and she wants to play on the trampoline, and then you see the first moment where Dee Dee's like, no, like, you're never going on that trampoline because you might fall. And so I thought that's the self-fulfilling prophecy because we find out that she does fall, and then it's going to be a wrap from there, guys.
Yep.
It's going to be a wrap from there, and here's why. And we'll fill in some details. But when she went to the hospital and came back and she said, Mama, I can walk. And Mama was like, no, you can't, and carries her, puts her down, tells her, don't move, and then brings out her dead mother's wheelchair and sticks her in the wheelchair. And all you see is Gypsy's head down the whole time. And it ends like that. I was like, that was the moment that she became the prisoner and not the daughter.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That was also for me where I could see Gypsy's natural nature of who she is because, one, she got on the trampoline after being explicitly told not to, and two, when she told her not to, when she hopped off that table or that she gave a little like, I was like, oh, Gypsy can think for herself already because
Or
you
is
already
trying to.
So her behavior now, or when she was a teen, that connected that for me. That she was already had her own kind of way of thinking even at that age.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Chef?
I think this whole episode, starting from 91 to 97, we see how sharp Gypsy actually is as a young little kid. But from the moment she got put into the wheelchair, I guess this was the avalanche of medications that were poured into her life to where she probably forgot how she operated at an early adolescence. Because clearly we saw how sharp she was. Don't jump on that trampoline. Who's not going to go on the trampoline?
Right.
Like, all of that, like, she was a very solid, independent thinker, but clearly the mother strong-armed her whole reality and just manipulated it up until she was in her teenagers and she had enough.
Yeah.
Right, because even to say I can walk, most kids that age I wanted to be carried. I
Same.
played sleep just to be carried.
Yep,
To say I got this, Mom, put me down.
Right. But I think also, too, at a young age, you saw that she knew her mom was needy. So let's talk a little bit about Patrick in the hospice and her mom dying and Patrick asking her really, like, has she been taking any other medication? Because she is not responding to morphine. She's not responding to anything. And basically she has like a couple of days to live. And that's when I knew this is where your girl is killing her mom slowly.
I thought about that. I was like, is this where this is going to come in?
Slowly, yes. Because she was like, oh, yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know what she does on her own time. You live with her.
Nothing.
You live with her. She can't do anything. You know exactly what's going on, and you're doing it, and it's your fault. So he's like, well, basically, she has like 2 days, and, you know, I'll be back tomorrow to kind of help you through that. And he leaves. We see her in front of the TV with her daughter, and you hear the mom in the background screaming for her. And what does she do?
Turns up the
Turns up the volume, like she can't hear her. Allows the mom to be in pain or whatever she needs. It's not being taken care of. But then, in her good old time, decides to go in the room and says, Mom, you know, I know you tried to love me and be there for me. And the mom was like, basically, no, I didn't ever love you.
You were never enough.
You made it way too hard.
You made it impossible.
Impossible. And I thought, oh, that's so sad. Even in her deathbed, the two of them can't come together.
Come to terms.
Yeah. Did you guys feel the same way?
Yeah, you made it impossible. I was just thinking of all the other things that Dee Dee potentially did up into that age. Like, what did she do to make her mother feel this way? Unless the mother automatically had that malice in her heart. Like, what did Dee Dee do?
Right. Even when she, like, sits on the floor and is hugging Gypsy and is like, do you love your mom? Which she says a lot throughout the first couple episodes, like, oh, do you not love me? Do you not love your mom? You know, throwing that in her face. So for her to, like, be on the ground hugging her and first time saying, do you love your mom? Implying that she was never loved by her mom. And I was kind of like, again, okay, there it is. She doesn't feel loved by her own mother, so she's going to attach to Gypsy and make her love her. And get the
Which
love
is what
that
she basically says.
Right.
Yeah. So we jump to present day, and Gypsy has left the hotel room, goes down to the vending machine, sees a mom and daughter. Daughter's freaking out, just like how we've seen Gypsy being freaking out. And she freaks out even more. She goes back to the room, and Nick is not answering the door quick enough. So she's having a panic attack. And then as soon as she gets in, you see the two of them start to bicker, right? And Nick is... And I thought it was a special moment almost too, because they both started crying and you could see their vulnerabilities. Because Nick doesn't know what he's doing wrong. He's only doing what he knows, which is very simplistic and basic in my opinion. And she is trying to have the fantasy that she thought she was playing out and realizing that it's not going to play out the way she thinks it's going to play out. And I think that the young girl and the mom and the way they reacted to each other triggered her. Did you guys
for
think-
sure. For sure.
Okay.
And the thing that is interesting about this family, the mom, Dee Dee, Gypsy, anytime anything goes wrong or they're in any type of pain, they pop pills. Like, that's all they do. Even on her deathbed.
Yeah.
Oh, just give me a Percocet. I was like, what?
Right.
What? Dee Dee's doing it, like, that whole family's, what is the word I'm looking for?
Crazy?
Nutty.
Yeah, like, they're...
That's it. Crazy. The whole family is crazy.
That's how they solve everything. They just pop pills.
Sociopaths, killers, abusers.
Lunatics.
I have
what's
a
the word
lot
I'm
of
looking
words.
for?
I could go on. I'm like a dictionary.
When you said what's the word, I was ready to, like, I had like 10
I know,
words.
I'm
Yeah.
like, let me pick out the best word to describe this family.
Yeah.
She goes in on him
Insane.
in that moment.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
the moment I really felt bad for him
Oh,
because
yeah.
you could see the sadness because he told us before he doesn't know what to do in those moments.
He doesn't. And
Yeah.
she knows, and she should know better. And I thought it was powerful when he said, you know, I want you to have your happily ever after and know that I'll do anything for you because I love you. Next day, they get on the bus. They're both lovey-dovey, like nothing happened, and they're sailing off into the sunset on the bus.
And something's apparently going to meet them out there that they mailed out earlier in the episode, which I thought,
Those dummies.
right,
I
like,
thought that was dumb too. I'm like,
Dummies.
come on.
Listen, I'll have to say this. Nick, you should have listened to Nick in that moment when he said throw it in the pond or the river by his house. That's what you should do.
Right.
Not mail it to yourself with your dirty panties and whatever else you got going on there. You sound stupid, and that was stupid. And that's why you got caught, FYI. Guys, we need to move on to some news and gossip. And you guys in this chat are like bombs. there's so many people like Paige, and I think we talked about you. You've got some really great comments going on there. And Nakia Emanuel, shout out to you. AfterBuzz, shout out to you. Donovan, shout out to you. We love you guys. Keep it coming and keep the comments coming, and we'll continue to talk with you. Let's go into some news and gossip. In an interview with E! On Wednesday, Joey talked about her transformation for her character on the act. She basically said it was very different from the things that she's been doing in the past. That's why she loves it so much. She's saying that this is one of her favorite characters to play because she was able to showcase something that she hadn't been able to showcase before, that she can be completely different and completely transform herself, and that she's capable of portraying a different person, which you really get because if you look, and I'll show you this photo that we have up here of her and her co-host, you see that she's like a beautiful girl. And when I watch the act, I actually think it's Gypsy. Right. That's how well she's acting. She continued to say this role, the way I approached her was very different from how I've approached any other role. I decided to strip away everything I thought I knew about acting, about anything, and just completely try and dive in and become someone else who's alive.
You did.
She sure did. Yes, this is a great photo too. So here we have Joey King, and on the left is how she was pre the act. Beautiful young girl. She's been in a lot of things. And on the right, her transformation to Gypsy. And in the comments, it says Joey King has zero regrets about her transformation to play Gypsy Blanchard in the act, including shaving her head all the way for this role. Okay, so can we go to a photo of just Gypsy for a quick second? Gypsy has heard about the series from others and appears to be upset about her friend Aaliyah. Now, what I've learned moving forward is that Aaliyah is actually not a real character. She's a real person, but not a character on the show. So when we talk about her neighbor, and I'm forgetting her name on the show.
Lacey.
Lacey was loosely based off of Aaliyah.
Okay.
So when Gypsy from prison says she's upset about how Aaliyah is being played, that's the part that she's most upset about. And she says, quote, she heard from people about how Aaliyah was being portrayed, and she was very upset about that because Aaliyah was such a positive influence for her, like an older sister, and she didn't like that. She feels like, oh well, I did what I did, so I'm fair game kind of anyways. Interesting.
So Gypsy has Hulu in prison?
Listen, we're about to talk about that in real life in a moment. But I wanted to talk about the music real quick. Music plays a big part of the act. Some episodes there barely is no music.
Right, I was gonna say.
Beyond the score. And other episodes are filled with symbolic song choices in which the title gives the mood away and offers a tongue-in-cheek nod to the horror going forward. And we saw that last episode with Jackson 5's I'll Be There. Mm-hmm. And in this episode, it's Bridget Bardot and Serge Gangbird in Bonnie and Clyde. And just like the title of the next episode, so the next episode, guys, that we're watching, is going to be called Bonnie and Clyde. So it's foreshadowing what's about to happen. It's the French version of the song. It tells the tale of a famous couple that's on the run, but in French. So I thought that that was really interesting. And it's actually based on the poem Bonnie Parker wrote before she and Clyde were shot to death. So this is actually based on that. And so Nick and Gypsy are in for a ride. Next up in our photos over here, I just wanted to show that Joey's only 19, but she's had a long career. So yes, that's Joey. She was in the Mean music video back in the day. She's also been in a lot of other movies. Plus, she did a movie with Selena Gomez.
I love that movie.
And so a lot of people are saying that they've seen her grow up to this strong, independent woman, and they love her, and she's doing so well, and she should be praised for all the great stuff that she's doing. This meme cracked me up, you guys, because you know I'm into memes. It says nobody, and then you see the wheelchair and him getting out and saying Gypsy Blanchard.
I hate people.
And just be like, done. So I thought that was great. Then we have some fan art, and it just says current show obsession, the act on Hulu. And yeah, I'm obsessed, and I think that was a great drawing. I wanted to move on to some in real life stuff. So we meet Dee Dee's mom in real life. Her name was Emma Pitre, and we know in real life that Dee Dee is accused of starving her own mother to death and poisoning her stepmother Laura. And Dee Dee wasn't Emma's only child, so she was the youngest of 6 children and 17 grandchildren.
She's a pig.
Wow.
Yeah, Dee Dee's mother in real life was also a shoplifter. Her mom was a little bit like Dee Dee, like that. And in the documentary in 2017, Mommy Dead and Dearest, they talk about her long history of shoplifting. And she's also known to have not only shoplifted, but also stole, you know, when you go to a laundromat and you steal people's clothes? She was that person. And she stole from her family like thousands of dollars as well. They say in real life that Emma and Dee Dee had a troubling relationship in real life. So what they're portraying on the act is true. And Dee Dee's family believed that she killed Emma and she poisoned her and starved her to death. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And in the documentary, it says that as soon as Laura was she attempted to kill Laura, which is the stepmom. As soon as Dee Dee left, all of a sudden Laura was miraculously better. Guys, if we look up at the screen, we see Dee Dee present day. This was taken actually this week, I believe.
Gypsy.
Earlier.
Gypsy.
Yeah, Gypsy. From prison. And this is what I was telling you guys about. It looks like prom pictures. It looks like she is posing in front of, I don't know, some type of crazy background. A green background, a purple background. And this is where she announced that she is engaged. She got engaged to her prison pen pal. And I'm going to read it verbatim because, like you, Chef, with the shocked face,
I'm like,
I was shocked as well. Gypsy Rose Blanchard is engaged to a man who contacted her in prison after he watched the documentary. And it says she's 27 years old, she deserves to be in love, and she deserves to have somebody who cares about her, says the family friend. And guys, the family friend, Fancy Maselli, she has an Instagram page and she posts all the pictures that Dee Dee sends her from prison.
Gypsy.
And
Gypsy.
I keep saying Dee Dee. You guys know what I mean, Gypsy. Gypsy sends her from prison. And let's talk about that. Gypsy has a pen pal. And in this photo, if we can pull it up, the one that looks like it's a Snapchat, where it says, felt cute, might walk later, I don't know. Okay, excuse me. Cell phone, Snapchat, Instagram, you're feeling cute in prison. I'm sorry. Is prison different nowadays?
Why does she have might walk later?
How about
For
why does she have
exercising,
Snapchat? Why is she on Snapchat in prison? Like, how are you're Snapchatting your friends? So,
Felt
hey guys,
cute.
I'm just in my cell. I'm gonna send you a quick selfie. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. But I mean, them's the breaks. And then one other photo that I wanted to show you guys, because I wanted to say, where are they now? You see Joey King, she posted on her Snapchat with a beautiful background. And it says, I love you, Iceland. And she's in Iceland filming her new show. And if you flip to the other one with the beautiful river and mountains in the background, I thought that was great. So she's in Iceland right now.
I love her.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's one of my new favorites. Any
Yes.
other project she does, I'm 100% watching.
I'm all in Team Joey
Yeah.
for sure. Guys, there's so much to get to, and I know that, we want to talk about this more. So guys, if you want to continue the conversation, we love hearing from you. Thank you for watching us. You can comment below on YouTube, and we love interacting with you, and we do it on the regular. You can find me on social media all across at Linda is So Girly.
You can find me at Chelsea E. Snyder at all social media platforms.
You can find me at Raven with an I, Raven French on all social media.
And you can find me at chef_beans with the Z.
And guys, till next week, same time, same place. Keep your theories coming, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.